Yuru is a tragically mid-human being who has never known life outside of his boring village. His main skills include hunting and being exploited by crusty old boomers. However, Yuru's world comes crashing down when his ancient village is attacked by modern warfare, threatening the life of his weird twin sister and revealing the mysterious powers possessed by the siblings. In a distant, remote village, a woman cries out in pain because of her painful delivery. However, the midwife wants her to suffer a bit more because she is about to give birth to twins who will eventually command powerful demons. One twin represents the night, while the other represents the day. 16 years later, that faithful knight has now led Yuru and his sister Asa to live a simple yet mysterious life in a peaceful village. Yuru spends most of his time hunting in the forest like a bloody caveman, completely detached from the world outside. He lives like a peasant, quietly stalking his prey and shooting them down. Yuru has perfected the art of hunting, but when it comes to the world, he is completely clueless. When Yuru looks up at the sky and sees the smoke left behind by a plane, he calls it a beautiful dragon's fart, not knowing what else to call it. After another successful hunting trip, Yuru returns back to the humble village which he calls home. His friend Danji, another simpleton who idolizes Yuru, is already eagerly waiting for the return of his only friend. Danji is always amazed that Yuru ventures out into the forest all alone. However, Yuru believes that the two divine guardian statues found close to the village entrance are actually protecting him. Upon arriving at the village, it is clear that everyone immensely respects Yuru, not only for his hunting skills, but also for his commitment to free labor. Even Danji's mother has the hots for Yuru, wanting her son to be diligent and hardworking just like him. But Yuru's life is not that perfect. He lives in the village with his sister Asa, who lives her life behind bars, contained within a prison. Unlike Yuru, Asa is a creepy, weak child who is scared of ever leaving the village. She has spent most of her life living completely isolated from others, except for some of the villagers. She is also very impressed by her brother who goes out and hunts all on his own. But Yuru is not pleased because he was hoping to catch bigger prey. The village has not received a lot of rain, and if things continue like this, Yuru will have to resort to drying meat. Asa worries that a lack of food will force most of the villagers to move away. Even though Yuru does not wish to make his sister worry, he knows that there's a chance the entire village may have to pack up and start over somewhere else. Since Asa can never leave the village, Yuru is determined to become a skilled hunter for the entire village. He wishes to remain with his sister, no matter how uncertain the future may seem. After making sure that Asa is okay, Yuru heads over to see the merchant Dara. He is a big hot shot as well, bringing in all manner of materials and produce for the people of the village. Dara is one of the few people who actually leaves the village, so he knows what's going on outside. He tells the villagers that the economy is bad and there's a pandemic going on, but these people don't really understand any of these words. Everyone comes to Dara if they need medicine or specific types of seeds. When Yuru finds him, he is surrounded by people asking him all types of questions. As usual, Yuru doesn't really need anything from Dara, but the merchant is far more thoughtful than he looks. He gives Yuru a souvenir which he specifically got for Asai, knowing that the brother always looks out for his sister. Since Dara doesn't come around often, Yuru is glad to see him once more, hoping to reconvene with an old friend. Later in the day, once Dara departs the village, Yuru spends time working in the field with Danji. Unfortunately for him, Danji is as superficial as they come. He wishes to leave the village and even hopes of getting closer to Asa. According to Danji, the villagers who have left never return back, so he thinks that the outside world must be pretty amazing. However, Yuru prefers the peacefulness of the village, and the thought of his innocent sister meeting the likes of Danji makes Yuru regret ever becoming friends with this guy, but beggars can't be choosers. While the banter between the two continues, Yuru suddenly feels a strange presence in the air. He can hear something quickly approaching and mistakes it for a dragon. Yuru has been hearing this noise for a long time now, and it makes him feel nervous. In just a matter of seconds, the barrier which keeps the village safe from the outside world somehow shatters, leaving it vulnerable to a brutal attack. When the boys look up, they see a plane up close for the first time. Things only get worse when helicopters hover over the land. Looming like ominous birds, the once peaceful village gets surrounded by menacing helicopters. The villagers quickly become unsettled, horrified at the sight of these strange contraptions. For people who don't even have indoor plumbing, the sight of a flying metal dragon with wings is terrifying and panic quickly spreads. To make matters worse, ground-armed forces have infiltrated the village as well, and they immediately start massacring hordes of people. The village elder, Granny Yamaha, quickly realizes that the barrier is gone, and these troops have arrived in search of Yuru and orders the remaining people to keep the boys safe. As events unfold, Yuru and Danji rush towards Asa's location after coming across several dead bodies. However, in a twist of fate, they come across two members of the armed forces. Upon seeing Yuru, the armed men pull out their weapons and start firing blindly. But their Glocks are nothing compared to the arrows fired by Yuru. Before the men can even shoot, he takes them out immediately. This is their first introduction to the power of the Glock. Unable to fathom the destructive nature of something that looks like a toy, after taking care of the intruders, Yuru slowly realizes that there might be more armed men in the area. So, he reveals a shortcut to Asa's underground prison, a small door hidden away right next to the statues of the Divine Guardians. This is a massive surprise for Danji, and the two boys quickly move forward. Meanwhile, a deranged girl named Gabby, who appears to be working with the armed forces, uses her terrifying powers to kill even more innocent villagers. She takes great joy in watching people get sliced in half, laughing with glee as some invisible force hacks away at limbs and faces. A little girl watches in horror as Gabby brutally kills her mother, but instead of killing the child as well, Gabby lets her go because harming children is where she draws a line. On the outskirts of town, Dara was also ambushed but managed to make it out alive. He definitely knows more than he lets on, and he knows that a certain someone has finally arrived to take Yuru. Within Asa's prison, a strange woman drags the limp body of Granny Yamaha. She then looks at little Asa behind the bars completely terrified. Instead of saving her, the woman uses her hands to create a powerful force which breaks the bars and immediately mortally wounds Asa. At this point, the village has become overrun with the intruders, and by the time Yuru arrives to save Asa, he sees nothing but red. The village elder is severely wounded, and Asa is lying motionless on the floor. When Yuru calls out for his sister, the grown woman standing before him responds instead. For some reason, this lady with an eye patch is calling herself Yuru's sister, and she intends on saving Yuru while threatening to kill everyone else. Yuru feels like this is a bad dream. He refuses to believe that the lunatic who killed his sister is somehow also his sister. In a fit of rage, Yuru pulls out his bow and attacks the women, but she uses her strange powers to blow up the entire place. Meanwhile, Dara has stealthily entered the village, trying to avoid the helicopters and killing the armed men along the way. But he has the misfortune of coming across Gabby and her weird-looking monster with giant teeth. This creature was clearly the one responsible for killing so many villagers. Equipped with a gun, Dara tries to take down the monster, but the gun that he borrowed from the forces might as well be a water gun. When this approach fails, Dara chucks a grenade instead, hoping that it'll create a diversion for him to escape. Back within the makeshift prison, the woman calling herself Asa has made things worse by using her powers. Everything's a mess and Yuru can barely fight back. However, even though she seems lifeless, the smaller Asa is still alive. Her blood slowly moves before expanding and turning into some sort of a monster. This entity tightly grips the adult Asa, allowing Dara to rescue Yuru. As the two leave, Granny Yamaha orders Dara to hide Yuru in the outside world and to keep him safe from the forces. Diligently, Dara swiftly tries to get Yuru out of the village. On the way, while Danji makes sure that his mother is okay, he also gets to see Yuru being dragged away by Dara. But there is no farewell between the two, and Danji cries out watching his only friend being dragged away to God knows where. Yuru is a complete mess now. 1 minute he was just a farm boy, and now his sister is dead, while some hot girl with an eye patch is calling herself Asa instead. Yuru can barely move and Dara is left dealing with his crash out. In just a matter of seconds, Yuru lost everything, and as the armed forces continue to fire at them from their helicopter, Dara can see that the boy needs a little pick-me-up. so he gives Yuru a jade pendant and tells him to place it between the two statues of the divine guardians. Yuru's day was already going pretty bad, and now Dara has him digging at the ground to insert some strange emblem while trying to dodge bullets. Once the task is complete, Dara suddenly smashes Yuru's head into the pavement, letting his blood spill on the jade. Apparently blood needed to be spilled in order for the jade to be activated. As Yuru yells at Dara for doing something so unhinged, the men in the helicopter are locked onto him, seconds away from pulling the trigger. But a bright, golden light blinds them, and the helicopter turns into an out-of-control Ferris wheel. Yuru watches in awe as two golden creatures latch on to the helicopters, clawing their way through the metal and crashing them down. They use the helicopters as playthings, twisting them and throwing them around everywhere. Dara and Yuru barely dodge out of the way as the helicopters almost crush them. Gabby is also witnessing everything unfold from afar. She was counting on the helicopters to give her a ride back home, but now she and her weird Pokemon will have to figure things out on their own. The chaos makes it difficult for Yuru to really see what the hell is going on. But as the dust settles, he can slowly make out two shapes. A large, fierce-looking man and a muscle mommy look down on Yuru, calling him their new master. Even though these strange people view Yuru as a child, they have to follow his command no matter what. Dara then explains that these two odd-looking individuals are actually Yuru's demons, a term he has only ever heard in storybooks. A long time ago, Yuru's father showed his son a secret, underground passage which runs through the entire village. Only a few people know about this passage, and the exit leads to the left and right demon statues. Even during that time, Yuru's father promised him that the left and right divine beings were always looking after him. And now, several years later, Yuru gets to see these divine beings in the flesh. These demons have been looking after Yuru for a long time, and now they are ready to follow his command. Right is the bigger, more outspoken demon who sees Yuru as a small child. Meanwhile, Left is the cool and detached being who is always level-headed. Left and Right have also been watching Dara, and they refer to him as the demon retainer. Right explains that they took care of helicopters, which he believes are giant metallic birds. However, he has no idea what these machines really are. Dara explains that these machines are modern inventions, and there are probably more on the way. Right now, Left and Right need to help Dara and Yuru get down the mountain so that they can make their escape. However, Right makes it clear that Dara is not their master, and does not hold the right to give out orders. But the problem is that Yuru himself has no idea what the hell is going on, and there is absolutely no time to explain everything to him. Just then, Gabby arrives on the scene, confirming Dara's worst fears. Behind her is the weird teeth monster with several eyes. Dara is shocked to see that the creature looks completely unharmed despite getting hit by a grenade. Gabby turns her attention to Yuru and recognizes him as Asa's brother. Hearing these words makes Yuru surge with rage. He comes to realize that Gabby is probably the one who killed a lot of the villagers, and her casual attitude about the whole thing makes it even worse. The demon Right notices that Yuru is gearing up for a fight, so he tells the boy to give the demons an order, and they will fight for him. However, this is personal, and Yuru does not intend on giving out orders to the village's guardian deities. Instead, he has a few requests for his new demons. First, he wants the demons to take any survivors in the village to a safe place. And second, no one is going to touch Gabby, because Yuru intends on taking her down alone. Other than that, the demons can do whatever they want. Right lets out a menacing laugh, eager to serve his new master. Meanwhile, the adult Asa is still trapped in the clutches of the blood entity created by the smaller Asa. However, she frees herself and throws Granny Yamaha against the wall. Before leaving, Asa makes it clear to Yamaha that the granny will pay for what she has done, and will never be forgiven. Back with Yuru, Right charges towards Gabby but actually jumps over her so that he can start saving villagers. But Left stays behind, choosing to do whatever she wants. She ends up kicking Gabby's demon right into a cliff. The once arrogant girl is now left completely helpless without her ugly monster snapping at people. Yuru then fires a shot which strikes right through Gabby's leg. The girl cries out in pain as she anticipates a second arrow aimed for her head. However, the tooth monster arrives just in time, picking up Gabby and flying away. Yuru and Left chase after their targets while Dara is left frustrated since they need to leave the village. While Yuru chases after Gabby, Right the demon looks around the village in search of any survivors. So far there are more dead bodies than survivors. However, Right ends up finding a little girl who previously watched her mother get decapitated. As the girl slowly opens her eyes, she sees nothing because Right has kept himself invisible. However, as soon as the eccentric demon reveals himself, the poor girl falls unconscious again. So far, Right has managed to save several children, but all of them end up fainting after seeing Right's true form. His ugly face was just too much for the weak kids to handle. It seems as if the enemy showed no mercy to the adults but left the kids mostly unharmed. As Right ponders over this fact, he sees Asa approaching in the distance. For a second the two stare at each other dumbfounded, but then Asa charges forward and uses her terrifying powers to direct a hit towards Right. Reacting just in time, Right uses his breath to redirect the force, causing damage nearby. Unable to comprehend Asa's actions, Right does not appreciate being greeted in such a manner. He wants to engage in a fight, but Yuru gave him strict orders, so the demon can only watch as Asa runs away from him without saying a word. As Asa leaves, Right curses the younger generation but detects something weird about the girl. Back in the other part of the village, Gabby's demon is getting wrecked by the demon left. She has the thing completely cornered, forcing the ugly monster to open its huge mouth. Gabby has a hard time keeping focus on her demon, desperately trying to stop Left from doing any damage. However, Left manages to open the creature's mouth with immense force. At the same time, Yuru fires another arrow which hits Gabby straight in the arm. Things are starting to look grim for Gabby as she cries out from the intense pain. Just then, Asa arrives as well. She uses her powers to break the dividing wall, burying Left and Gabby's demon. Asa then runs to Gabby, making sure that she is okay, but Yuru intervenes. He refuses to believe that this strange, taller Asa is actually his sister. Asa reveals that she has been through a lot, but she is still Yuru's sister at the end of the day. The conversation is interrupted by Right, who comes flying out of nowhere. He tells Yuru and Asa to stop fighting because he can smell Asa's blood, and she smells just like Yuru. This is the last thing Yuru wanted to hear. He refuses to believe that his depressed, emo-looking girl is actually his sister. Plus, Asa has been in the village this entire time, so who exactly is the other girl? Asa reveals that the version of her Yuru has known this entire time is actually an imposter. 10 years ago, Asa and Yuru's parents left the village, but they took Asa with them. Fearing that Yuru might want to leave as well, Granny Yamaha and the others created an imposter to keep Yuru in the village. They knew Yuru's love for Asa would keep him in the village because he always wanted to protect her. Yuru's entire life is crashing around him. He has no idea how to react or what to say, but Dara jumps in and tells Yuru to calm down. He also wants Asa to back down a little. Yuru reacts to Dara's nonchalant attitude, but the cunning merchant believes that there is no telling what the real Asa is capable of. So it would be better to leave in order to avoid more damage to the village. Yuru reluctantly puts down his bow and tells Asa that he will let Gabby go if they leave the village. Asa agrees to the terms and watches in silence as her brother leaves with Dara and his demons. Gabby is not happy with the arrangement, but in her injured state, there's no other choice. On the other hand, Asa bursts out in tears after learning that Yuru is finally safe and alive. As Asa continues to cry, the barrier over the village slowly comes back with the help of Granny Yamaha. The imposter Asa is also alive again, but she looks incredibly hollow. The village appears to be returning back to normal. There are two hikers close to the mountain, and they start questioning the sounds of the helicopters coming from the distance. They believe that perhaps someone needed to be reduced. As the hikers continue their discussion, Dara and Yuru pass by with great vigor in their step, followed by Left and Right hovering in the air. The intense wind from the demons scares the hikers away. Dara and Yuru are in great hurry as they rush to descend the mountain. Dara notices that the village is no longer visible, which means that the barrier must be back. However, this doesn't mean that Yuru can just go back. Whoever wanted to find Yuru is more than capable of breaking the barrier again, so it would be best for the boy to blend in with modern society from now on. Dara is a little reckless, but he gets Yuru to the bottom of the mountain, where his friend Hana is waiting with a car. Hana is upset because she wasn't expecting to accommodate two demons as well. Shocked that Hana can see the demons, Dara promises to spill all of the juicy details. He tries to introduce the demons, but Left and Right are busy inspecting every inch of the strange metal hunk known as a car. Hana then introduces herself to Yuru. She works with Dara as a demon retainer. It is now time for all of them to head back to civilization, but Yuru refuses to enter this bizarre contraption. Dara has to explain the concept of a car to Yuru and the demons, but he does a horrible job. So Hana takes matters into her own hands and tells the clueless idiots that the car has horses inside, which allows it to go super fast. This little trick works, and Yuru and the demons no longer have a problem with the car. Meanwhile, Gabi and Asa are waiting for their ride as well close to the village. After some time, their colleague known as Jin arrives to pick them up. Jin is remorseful to hear that things got so far out of hand. He also reprimands Gabi for not taking her injuries seriously. The mission seems to be a failure since Yuru is not with them. However, Asa was still able to confirm her brother's existence. Back in the car, Dara, Yuru, and the demons are well on their way. Dara has been explaining the entire situation to Hana. She can't believe that so much force was used just to get Yuru back. Dara is also worried that he will need to change his appearance and leave the city after this encounter. During the conversation, left and right sense the presence of another demon approaching. They alert Dara and the others to the incoming presence, which is mostly harmless. Unlike the ugly, scary demons, this demon is far more ethereal and beautiful. The demon is actually a beautiful lady with white hair riding atop a white stallion. She looks majestic as she greets left and right after not seeing them for hundreds of years. The white demon is curious to learn that left and right have acquired a new master and will be living in the big city from now on. Bidding farewell to her friends, the white demon disappears into the sky, hoping to learn more about the twins Yuru and Asa. Dara and Hana immediately start freaking out because they just saw an Oshira-sama for the first time. Unlike normal demons, this entity is far more divine and sacred, almost like a god. Yuru does not understand why the adults in the car are acting like children. He learns that there are all manner of demons. Some are like Oshira-sama, who live alongside humans, while others have masters and bring good luck. There are also demons who will kill their own masters. Back on the mountain, Gabi is placed on a stretcher so that she can safely descend the mountain. Asa feels regretful because she was the one who let Yuru get away, but there is no point in dwelling on the past now. As long as Yuru is alive and well, there is still hope that Asa will reunite with her brother. Plus, without Asa's help, Gabi would have been minced meat by now. She actually finds Yuru to be quite brutal and terrifying. Meanwhile, as the car slowly makes its way towards the city, Yuru sees city lights for the first time in his life. Now he will get to start a new life far away from the village he has always known. Long ago, Yuru's father showed him a secret underground passage that runs beneath the entire village. Known only to a few, this passage leads to the left and right guardian statues. Back then, Yuru's father promised him that these divine beings would always watch over him. Now, years later, Yuru finally sees them in the flesh. Having protected him from afar for years, the two spirits are now ready to follow his command. Right is the larger, more outspoken Tsugai who treats Yuru like a small child, while left is cool, detached, and consistently level-headed. Left and right have also been observing Dara, whom they refer to as the demon retainer. Right explains that they took care of the helicopters, which he mistakes for giant metallic birds, unaware of what the machines actually are. Dara clarifies that these are modern inventions and warns that more are likely on the way. While they need to help Dara and Yuru escape down the mountain, Right makes it clear that Dara is not their master and has no authority to command them. The situation is complicated by the fact that Yuru is completely bewildered by these revelations, and there is no time for explanations. Just then, Gabi arrives, confirming Dara's worst fears. Behind her is the grotesque, multi-eyed teeth monster. Dara is shocked to see the creature unharmed despite having hit it with a grenade earlier. Gabi turns her attention to Yuru, recognizing him as Asa's brother. Hearing this, Yuru is consumed by rage, realizing that Gabi is likely responsible for the massacre in the village. Her casual attitude toward the slaughter only fuels his anger. Seeing that Yuru is gearing up for a fight, Right urges the boy to give them an order so they can strike. However, Yuru views this as a personal matter and refuses to give orders to the village's guardian deities. Instead, he makes two requests. First, that they move any survivors to safety, and second, that they leave Gabi to him, as he intends to take her down alone. Beyond that, the Tsugai are free to do as they please. Right lets out a menacing laugh, eager to serve his new master. Meanwhile, the adult Asa remains trapped by the blood entity created by the fake, younger Asa. She eventually frees herself and throws Granny Yamaha against a wall, vowing that the old woman will pay for her actions, and will never be forgiven. Back at the battlefield, Right charges toward Gabby but leaps over her to begin rescuing villagers. Left stays behind to fight on her own terms, kicking Gabby's Sugai into a cliff. Deprived of her monster, the once arrogant Gabby is left vulnerable. Yuru seizes the moment and fires an arrow, striking her in the leg. As she screams in pain, fearing a fatal shot to the head, the tooth monster recovers just in time to snatch her up and fly away. Yuru and Left give chase, leaving a frustrated Dara behind. As Right searches the village for survivors, he finds mostly corpses. He eventually encounters a little girl who witnessed her mother's death. Initially invisible, Right reveals himself to her, but the sight of his eccentric, monstrous form causes the girl to faint. While the enemy seemingly spared the children while showing no mercy to the adults, Right's ugly face proves to be too much for the traumatized kids to handle. As Right ponders the situation, he spots Asa approaching. After a brief, stunned silence, Asa lunges forward, using her terrifying powers to attack him. Right narrowly redirects the force of the blow with his breath. Offended by such a greeting and unable to comprehend her hostility, Right wants to fight back. However, bound by Yuru's orders to save villagers, he can only watch as Asa runs away without a word. As she disappears, Right curses the younger generation, though he senses something deeply strange about the In another part of the village, Left continues to overwhelm Gabby's Sugai. She corners the creature, forcing its massive jaws open with immense strength. Gabby struggles to maintain her connection with her Sugai, desperately trying to shield it from further damage. Seizing the opening, Yuru fires another arrow, striking Gabby directly in the arm. As she reels from the intense pain, the situation looks increasingly grim until Asa arrives. Using her powers, Asa shatters a nearby wall, burying both Left and Gabby's Sugai under the debris. Asa rushes to Gabby's side to check on her, but Yuru intervenes. He refuses to believe that this stranger, this taller, older woman, could possibly be his sister. Asa insists that despite everything she has endured, she is still his sister. Their confrontation is interrupted when Right arrives on the scene. He tells them to stop fighting, noting that he can smell Asa's blood, and confirming it matches Yuru's perfectly. This revelation is the last thing Yuru wants to hear. He cannot reconcile the depressed, emo-looking girl before him with the sister he knows. Furthermore, if Asa has been in the village his entire life, who is this woman? Asa reveals a shocking truth. The Asa Yuru grew up with is an imposter. 10 years ago, when their parents fled the village, they took the real Asa with them. To prevent Yuru from following, Granny Yamaha and the village elders created a fake Asa. They knew Yuru's protective nature and love for his sister would keep him tethered to the village forever. Yuru's world begins to crumble as he processes the lie he has lived. Sensing his distress, Dara steps in to de-escalate the situation, urging both Yuru and Asa to stand down. Though Yuru is frustrated by Dara's calm demeanor, the merchant knows they are in no position to fight the real Asa. To prevent further destruction to the village, Yuru reluctantly lowers his bow. He agrees to let Gabby go on the condition that they leave the village immediately. Asa accepts, watching in silence as her brother departs with Dara and the Sugai. While an injured Gabby is furious about the arrangement, she is too weak to protest. Once they are gone, the weight of the moment hits Asa, and she bursts into tears of relief, knowing her brother is finally safe. As the village's protective barrier is restored by Granny Yamaha, the imposter, Asa is brought back to life, though she appears hollow and soulless. On the outskirts of the mountain, two hikers hear the distant sound of helicopters, and wonder if a rescue mission is underway. Their conversation is cut short when Dara and Yuru dash past them, followed by the invisible force of Left and Right, whose powerful winds terrify the hikers. As they descend the mountain in a hurry, Dara notices that the village has vanished from sight, signaling that the barrier is fully operational again. However, he warns Yuru that there is no turning back now his old life is officially over. Dara warns Yuru that whoever broke the barrier to find him is likely capable of doing it again. Therefore, the boy's best chance of survival is to blend into modern society. Despite his reckless driving, Dara manages to get Yuru to the foot of the mountain, where his associate Hana is waiting with a car. Hana is immediately overwhelmed, not having expected to accommodate Tutsugai as well. When a shocked Yuru realizes Hana can see the spirits, Dara promises to explain the juicy details later. He attempts to introduce the Sugai, but Left and Right are too busy inspecting every inch of the strange metal hunk. Hana introduces herself to Yuru, explaining that she, like Dara, works as a demon retainer, Sugai user. It is time to head toward civilization, but Yuru, distrustful of the bizarre contraption, refuses to enter. Dara attempts to explain the concept of an automobile, but his technical explanation fails miserably. Taking charge, Hana tells the clueless trio that the car has horses trapped inside that allow it to run at high speeds. This simple trick works, and Yuru and the Tsugai finally climb in. Meanwhile, near the village, Gabi and Asa wait for their own transport. Their colleague, Jin, arrives to pick them up and expresses deep remorse that the situation escalated so violently. He also reprimands Gabi for her reckless attitude toward her injuries. Although the mission was technically a failure since they didn't secure Yuru, Asa finds solace in finally confirming her brother is alive. Back in Hana's car, the group is well on their way. As Dara catches Hana up on the chaos, she is stunned by the amount of force used just to retrieve one boy. Dara worries that after this encounter, he may need to change his identity and flee the city. Suddenly, left and right sense another presence approaching. Unlike the grotesque monsters from the earlier battle, this entity is ethereal and majestic, a beautiful white-haired woman riding a white stallion. The spirits recognize her as an Oshira-sama, a divine being they haven't seen in centuries. The white spirit is intrigued to learn that left and right have a new master and are heading to the city. After bidding them farewell, she vanishes into the sky. Curious about the twins, Dara and Hana are left starstruck, as seeing an Oshira-sama, a being more godlike than a typical Tsugai, is a rare and sacred event. Yuru is confused by the adults' childish excitement, leading to a lesson about the diversity of Tsugai. Some live alongside humans as guardians, others bring good luck to their masters, and some are dangerous enough to kill their own contractors. As the episode concludes, Gabi is carried down the mountain on a stretcher. Asa feels the weight of her brother's escape but remains hopeful that they will reunite. Gabi, however, is left with a new impression of Yuru, finding him far more brutal and terrifying than she expected. As the car approaches the horizon, Yuru sees the glowing lights of the city for the first time, marking the beginning of a new life. After a few minutes, they pull into a parking lot. Hana takes the opportunity to go to the convenience store and returns loaded with supplies for our protagonist, including new clothes that she claims will suit him perfectly and help him blend in, unlike his traditional attire. Meanwhile, Dara reappears wearing much more comfortable footwear typical of the lower world, but Hana is struck by how well the modern style fits Yuru. Yuru, however, is fixated on the bag of food. Reading the labels, he is amazed, as the ingredients seem expensive and exotic to him. Dara understands completely, knowing that Yuru's life in the village was extremely austere. When Hana opens one of the containers, the protagonist lets out a cry of pure excitement at the first bite, an explosion of artificial flavors and spices he has never experienced. In his mind, he is convinced he has found the food of the gods. However, the joy fades when Yuru laments aloud that Asa cannot taste these delicacies, causing an awkward silence. To break the ice, Miji asks where they are. Dara explains that the place is similar to the inns they know but modernized, with convenience stores and restrooms. He invites them to look around, but the Tsugai, Miji and Hidari, refuse, preferring to stay and watch over Yuru. While Dara and Hana eat alone, she expresses her concern for the boy, whose entire world crumbled in a single day. Hana brings up a logistical problem. They can't go to their usual hideout because their faces are already marked, and traveling with a boy who knows nothing of the modern world and is being hunted is a recipe for disaster. Dara proposes a solution. They should get married and form a fictional family. Hana screams in indignation, but Dara explains they need to blend in. If they claim to be a married couple, and that Yuru is a son from a previous relationship, no one will be suspicious. Hana flatly refuses. Meanwhile, the Tsugai try to figure out which horses move that metal box. Yuru steps out of the vehicle to apologize for eating everything, but they clarify that they don't need human food to survive. Taking advantage of the privacy, Yuru asks what they truly know about him and his sister. The Tsugai confess their knowledge is limited, as they spent 400 years guarding the village entrance. However, they reveal a key piece of information. 10 years ago, they saw Yuru's parents fleeing the village with a baby girl in a basket who carried the same scent as Yuru. This confirms to the young man that his parents didn't abandon them both, but only left him behind to protect his sister. A new hope is born. If Asa was with them, she must know where their parents are. Finally, Hana informs Yuru that from now on, she and Dara will be his guardians. As they resume their journey, Yuru asks about the Kagomori family. Dara explains they are owners of powerful Tsugai who left the village years ago, eventually becoming enemies after losing contact. Meanwhile, in a distant building, a girl runs in desperation. As she tries to escape via an elevator, a hooded man stops the doors with a cold smile and says, "There's no need to run away. If you run away, I won't be able to finish you off," the man says. As he flashes his knife, the situation takes a terrifying turn. But not for the girl. Suddenly, her figure distorts, stretching into a ghostly, ethereal presence that strikes horror into the aggressor. From the shadows on the floor, a monstrous Tsugai emerges and devours the man in a display of supernatural brutality. Jin, standing outside the elevator, talks on the phone with the real girl, assuring her that her stalker has been dealt with. However, the calm is shattered when another employee calls the elevator and stands frozen at the sight of the Tsugai. With eerie composure, Jin asks if she possesses the sight, implying that if she does, she'd best keep it a secret. Back in the car, Dara and Hana confess to Yuru that their knowledge of the village is limited. Both simply inherited their roles through family lineage. Hana has never set foot in the village, and Dara was merely following strict orders from the village head to prevent the Kagomori family from taking Yuru. While this explains his grandmother's paranoia, the mystery of his identity remains. Dara explains that Yuru and Asa are the twins of the day and night. Miji and Hidari interject to explain the magnitude of their existence. They are part of a 4-century-old prophecy that once sparked bloody wars fueled by the ambition of Tsugai masters. They detail their powers: the key, the power to forcibly open anything, from physical doors to magical barriers, and the seal, the power to close or seal anything by force. When Yuru asks if anyone has ever held both powers at once, the Tsugai flatly deny it. Dara reveals he entered the village by bypassing security through specific points in the mountains. This was also how Yuru's mother ended up in the village after getting lost in the forest. Yuru remembers her saying his name meant night in her native tongue, and that she dreamed of taking her family back to her beautiful birthplace. After hours of travel, they stop to rest. Yuru finally masters the rules of the modern restroom, though he hates the hand dryer because it roars like a dragon. Outside, Miji is baffled by the city's logistics. How much food is needed to feed so many people? Yuru realizes the crowd is a perfect hiding place, but he decides not to trust Hana and Dara blindly, as they are still tied to those who hid the truth from him for years. Finally, they arrive at their temporary refuge. Yuru is stunned by the modern architecture, but he is most thrilled by his room's tatami floor, a luxury reserved only for high-ranking elders in his village. His peace is interrupted when two creatures attack him by surprise. Hana quickly apologizes and introduces the house protectors. Yuru is confused by their animal forms until they give him a few warning scratches. Miji proudly clarifies that they aren't simple spirits but legendary guardians, whom Hana introduces as Senko and Koro. Meanwhile, in the main mansion's garden, Asa practices her skills. She manages to slice an apple from a distance with surgical precision, but when she tries to concentrate even harder, she loses control and destroys part of the garden. The head of the organization arrives at that moment. Asa apologizes in shame, but the old man assures her that the garden is of little concern as long as she continues to perfect her technique. Jin uses his own Tsugai to clean up the mess with unsettling efficiency. Later, the old man visits Gabiru, who greets the group with total indifference, even when offered an apple sliced by the knife that Jin's Tsugai has just regurgitated. The orders are clear. Gabiru must not leave, and Asa must stay by her side for protection, for if it becomes known that the twins have descended from the mountain, enemies will attack mercilessly. Jin is tasked with locating Yuru, though he admits he has no idea what the boy looks like. The girls attempt to draw a portrait of Yuru, only to be humiliated by the artistic talent of the Tsugai's toothless mouth. Before Jin leaves, Asa warns him. Her brother's Tsugai are lethal trackers with a sense of smell capable of finding anything. At the hideout, Dara emerges from the bathroom having shaved his beard to go unnoticed, much to the disappointment of Hana, who preferred his rugged look. Panic sets in when they notice Dara's machete is missing, and Yuru is nowhere to be found. It's obvious he has run away. From a rooftop, Yuru gazes at the city, and realizes that searching for Asa on foot is impossible. He devises a plan. He orders Miji and Hidari to track the scent of his sister's blood. The Tsugai accept the challenge and transform, taking on a majestic golden appearance. In a flash of electric bolts, they soar into the sky, carrying Yuru with them and leaping across skyscrapers at a terrifying speed, leaving our protagonist vomiting from They manage to pick up a scent in a parking lot. Hidari warns him that not all tsugai are reasonable, some are savage beasts from another world. Yuru recognizes the presence of someone who smells like Asa. It's Jin. Traumatic memories of the attack on his village blind him. He draws his machete and charges at him. It's a trap. Jin's tsugai, Scavenger, emerges from nowhere and devours Yuru in an instant, imprisoning him behind a wall of teeth. Jin approaches with a cold smile, confirming his prey's identity. Back at the refuge, the tension is palpable. Hana is visibly upset, and Dara mocks her maternal instincts. Their concern is also financial. If Yuru gets hurt, medical bills will be astronomical since he isn't in the healthcare system. Hana orders one of her guardians to track Yuru, while handing the other a smartphone to monitor his location in real time. Dara is shocked to see ancient spirits handling cutting-edge technology, but Hana explains that her servants have perfectly adapted to the digital age. Seeing the rapid movement on the map, they suspect Yuru isn't lost. He's out on a hunt of his own. On the cold asphalt of the parking lot, Jin keeps Yuru trapped. He arrogantly confesses that after the raid on the village they knew he would come for Asa, though they didn't expect him to be so reckless. Jin's subordinates impatiently demand that Yuru's tsugai reveal themselves. Meiji and Hidari evaluate the situation with cold precision. They know that while their rivals carry no visible weapons, two other tsugai are lurking in the shadows. Finally, our protagonist's protectors step into the light, moving with an indifference that terrifies Jin's men. Not even the threat of their master being held hostage stops them. Yuru apologizes to his guardians for acting on impulse, but Hidari orders him to stay still. As long as he remains inside Scavenger, the monster is occupied, and is one less problem on the board. This confuses Jin, as he doesn't understand a tsugai giving orders to its master. Yuru informs him that his servants have total autonomy. Jin's men open fire and hurl grenades, but the projectiles bounce off harmlessly. The twins remind them that they are made of stone, and such weapons are merely a noisy nuisance. Jin tries to intervene with his katana, but the blade snaps in two upon striking the protector's mineral skin. However, the tide turns when new contenders appear. A giant turtle that attempts to crush Hidari, and a swift rabbit that strikes Meiji at blinding speed. Analyzing the environment with strategic coldness, Yuru manages to free his arm and throws his weapon with pinpoint accuracy, hitting the turtle and giving Hidari the space to react. With devastating brute force, she shatters Scavenger's teeth with a single kick, finally freeing her master. Yuru wastes no time. He grabs one of the monster's broken fangs and hurls it at the tsugai restraining Meiji. Detecting his master's tactical cue, Meiji releases an electrical discharge that blows out the lights, plunging the entire parking lot into absolute darkness. In the total blackness, Yuru's senses, honed in the mountain forests, become his primary weapon. Jin feels a clean cut on his leg before he can even react. When Scavenger manages to turn on a flashlight, the scene is definitive. Yuru has Jin pinned under the edge of his knife. Meiji and Hidari watch with pride, explaining to the bewildered subordinates that they don't work under rigid orders but with total freedom, trusting Yuru's tactical genius. In the dark, no one is more lethal than the man raised to hunt invisible prey. Yuru's rage simmers when Jin confesses he was the one who ordered the attack on the village. The knife trembles against the man's throat, nearing the point of no return. However, Yuru makes a titanic effort to remain calm and orders Jin to use his communication device. In a voice that brooks no argument, he commands, "Call Asa. Tell her to come immediately. It's time we speak face to face." I heard that you addicted to them sands now, girl.